guys, it's Tealus here. Welcome back to the Hall of the Guardian. It's been a while since we've been back here, last time being for Arcane Mage. This time, if you can't tell by the wonderful, the trio of orbs floating above my head, we are here to take a look at the class overview, the changes coming to Fire Mages in World of Warcraft Legion. They have very few changes. It is by far the shortest I guess kind of write-up that I've ever done for any of the classes, any of the specializations, by far. However, I will say that there are two big changes to abilities that I think will change its playstyle more than some other abilities that may have gotten a lot of changes, but they didn't really result in much change in their playstyle. So, with that being said, in this video, we will be looking at the removed, changed, and new abilities for Fire Mage. And then in the next video, the second video of this two-video series, we'll be looking at the PvP and PvE talents that are available to a Fire Mage. And I will say that mages, for the most part, their talent tree hasn't changed too much compared to other talent trees. Some specs have received completely brand new talent trees, but Fire Mage, not so much. So, with the exception of the two changes to abilities that I think are bigger, possibly, that maybe I'm kind of overstating how big these changes are, for the most part, Fire Mage is very similar to the way it is on live. So, I personally like the way Fire Mage plays on live, so this is not a problem for me, but it may be something that, you know, it may be something that Fire Mages were kind of hoping for something a little bit more, and they're not going to get it. But we shall see as we go through these abilities. Once again, I'm going to be starting with removed abilities and then changed and then new, so you can see how the class has evolved, and then we will look at the artifact weapon at the end of this. Now, I will say that the three orbs above my head are not actually a part of like a new Fire Mage thing. It's actually a part of the artifact weapon. If I take the artifact weapon off, which is this awesome, I believe it's a one-handed sword. Yes, it is a main hand sword. If I were to take this artifact weapon off, the orbs would disappear. So it's a part of the visual effect of the artifact weapon, which is by far the coolest visual for any artifact weapon out there. And if you've noticed, since I did my arcane videos, they have fixed the glyphs from popping up on the floor. If you were watching those arcane videos, we had some weird glyphs underneath these bulwark constructs that were kind of flashy, but not detrimental enough for me to not do the arcane video. But they are now gone, as I predicted. That was a bug, and they would be removed, and so they are. So, with that, let's go ahead and take a look at removed abilities for a Fire Mage. First, Arcane Brilliance is gone. This is really not a big deal, because all buffs across the board have just been removed from the game. All of them. So, Mark of the Wild, your blessings, basically they've all been removed. Anything that was a raid-wide buff has been removed. And basically that's because raid-wide buffs just, it came to the point where everyone had a raid-wide buff, and so there was really no reason to, you know, for when everyone had a raid-wide buff, to have them anymore, because there was just so much overlapping, it just didn't make sense anymore. So, Arcane Brilliance has been removed. Second ability removed, Combustion. So Combustion's back in name. It's still there, but it's been basically gutted how it worked before. So this is one of the two abilities that I think is a major change to how you play as a Fire Mage. The other one's more of like a half change in terms of how you'll play as a Fire Mage. This is more of a bigger change to how you play as a Fire Mage. And I do believe the artifact weapon ability will also change a little bit how you rotate through your abilities as a Fire Mage. But otherwise, Combustion is the first of them, and I'm just saying that it's removed here because it only comes back in name. It is completely brand new. Conjure Refreshment Table is gone. I do not know if this is permanent, if this is a bug. I'm not quite sure, because to me it makes no sense to remove this. This was a huge quality of life for any mage, and I'm not sure where it is. I've tried looking for it as a glyph or something, a minor glyph in the game. Minor glyphs are still in the game, even though glyphs have been removed. Minor glyphs are still in the game, and you're able to like teach them as a permanent spell to your caster, and I've been looking for that, and I didn't see one, so I could be wrong, but for right now, it just doesn't exist in game. So it you know, I'm not really sure what to tell you guys. I I honestly don't see why it's been removed. There's no reason for it being removed. It was just straight quality of life, and there was no reason to take it out of the game. So I wouldn't be surprised to see it back in the game somehow. For Blizzard to be like, oh, you know, we messed up on this spell here, or for it to be a bug or something. But don't hold out hope for Conjure Refreshment Table being back in the game. But for now, it's not my spell book, and I do not have access to it. Remove Curse has been removed. This is kind of going the same way. As like Soothe and some other just kind of out there abilities that were given to different classes that really shouldn't have them. And basically, I guess Blizzard felt that mages, being a non-healer, did not really deserve to have something that was more associated with healing and restoration of another character. So, Remove Curse has been removed. Usually, I don't go through improvements and enhancements. I'll tell you if an enhancement's been baked in, but I'm just letting you know the improved Scorch is gone. You no longer have access to it. And then Incineration is gone, which was, I believe, a base crit buff. Any kind of base buff to any of your stats has basically just been cut out of the game. So, not too big of a deal there, because that's happened to everyone. And honestly, I like that better. I hated it how they had that there. It was like, hey, this is a hint. This is your best secondary stat. You know, let people figure out for themselves what their best secondary stat is, or let them choose what they want their secondary stat to be instead of forcing it on them. And so I'm glad that this is gone. So with that, let's look at the changed abilities. The cool thing about Fire Mage is that while melees across the board have really gotten brand new sound effects, brand new spell visuals, ranged classes have not yet. With the exception of Fire Mage. Fire Mage is like their guinea pig, their first test, along with Lightning Bolt for an Elemental Shaman. So I will be showing a couple of the new upgraded abilities, or at least I say couple. I'm going to show you the ones that I've noticed. So the first one being Fireball. There are no changes to Fireball as an ability, but the fire animations from you actually casting it in your hands, I know it's kind of hard to see because you have the fire orbs running around you. It's been increased greatly, the spell visual for that, and then the actual spell visual of the ability has been increased as well, so that's pretty cool. In addition to that, we're going to get to the changes to Pyroblast in a minute. Pyroblast as well has been upgraded, the spell visual of what Pyroblast looks like. As you can see, the flames are even bigger in my hands from that, which is pretty cool. So, that's the change to Fireball. Let's go ahead and take a look at Flame Strike and the changes here. The dot component of Flame Strike has been removed. It is no longer there. Its cast time has been increased by 2 seconds from 1.75 to 3.75 seconds. So, Flame Strike really has a long cast time now. It's in the ballpark of Pyroblast, which will make sense later. And then, in addition to that, its cooldown has been removed. This was an enhancement in Warlords of Draenor, and it is now baseline. But I need to show you this awesome new spell animation that Flame Strike now has. You can see it in the hands there, really cool. And then you have that awesome pillar that comes down. Now, the second pillar that comes down is actually a part of your artifact weapon. It's a talent you can get from your artifact weapon. So the base one will be the first pillar, and then you'll get the second pillar later on. But there's a great change there in how, Flame Strike looks there. It looks really awesome. Next changed ability is Inferno Blast. As of the most recent patch, they renamed it Fire Blast, because if you're just going to get rid of Fire Blast, I mean, why not just, get rid of Inferno Blast, which was added, recently, and just bring back the old Fire Blast that everyone knows from back in vanilla, for being a part of Mages. So, Inferno Blast has been renamed back to Fire Blast. Fire Blast is not available to the other classes and specs for a Mage. It no longer spreads dots. This was an enhancement that has now been taken out of it. It will no longer spread your dots. This is the second ability that I feel is kind of changed and will change your playstyle. And I say half changed because there's just some quality of life things in here that are pretty interesting. Fire Blast is not affected by the global cooldown. This is something that was not available before. So I'm able to cast Scorch immediately after using a Fire Blast, which is pretty cool. Another amazing thing, I can actually cast Fire Blast while casting something else. So I can cast Fire Blast right there, and then cast off a Pyro Blast in the middle of it. So that's another major change that's actually really cool. And then the other one, the other change that's kind of a downside is that its cooldown has been increased from 8 seconds to 11.2 seconds. So you're gonna have a little bit more in between time your charges of your Fire Blast coming back up. So, but that is one of the two abilities I feel, this one more kind of just like a half change, but having that change to the global cooldown, not being affected by the global cooldown, and the ability for you to cast it while casting is pretty awesome. The next change ability is going to be Pyro Blast. Its cast time has been increased from 1 second, so it's now a 4.22 second cast, as opposed to a 3.22 second cast. So it's really long. It no longer has dot damage, it's just straight damage. And the hot streak portion of Pyroblast has been spun off back into its own ability. Last expansion, Warlords of Draenor, they did this whole kind of, squishing of abilities, trying to condense them. If they were just a regular passive or so forth, they, bake it into the ability. This is kind of splitting out. They're splitting Hot Streak off. And the reason for that is because it's going to interact with Flame Strike as well. I mean, that should become evident with how long the cast time is on Flame Strike now. But basically, they felt that, as you can see right here, a 3.75 second cast is pretty big. So that is why Hot Streak has been spun off, is because it's going to have different effects now dealing with Flame Strike. Lastly, Mastery Ignite now has a little additive here. Every 2 seconds, Ignite may spread to other targets. So it has a chance to spread to other targets every 2 seconds. Let me just read this off for you. Everything in that first part stays the same, with the exception of, at the very end, it says exactly, every 2 seconds your Ignites may spread to another nearby enemy. So, with that being said, that's everything for the changes for a Fire Mage in terms of their ability. Very quick and easy. There's not really much to say there. We have 4 new abilities for a Fire Mage. Let's go through the well, they're interesting to me, but the real big one is Combustion. We'll get to that one at the end. But first, let's look at Ice Barrier. Ice Barrier is now baseline for all mages, which is awesome. Kind of brings back that feel of always having your Ice Barrier up in PvP. It's something that really PvPers are really going to like having. Invisibility, I believe it's still the same. It still pretty much stays the second. I had it originally as a change ability, but within recent patches, they have kind of turned it back into the way it is originally on live, so nothing has changed for Invisibility. So, sorry, I originally thought that was a change ability, but it's not. So actually, there's only 3 new abilities for Fire Mage. The second new ability is going to be Hot Streak. As I said, it's spun off, and you could probably describe this as a changed ability rather than a new ability, but and that's basically because it still functions exactly the same. 2 direct damage, critical strikes in a row will allow your Pyroblast or your Flame Strike spell to instant cast and deal double the normal Ignite damage. So just a couple of changes there for Hot Streak, but essentially it's still very close to how it is on live. With that being said, Ice Barrier and Hot Streak being the new abilities, Hot Streak kind of being more of a changed ability, and Ice Barrier just kind of returning to the class. Combustion is brand new. It comes back in name only. It is completely different though. Combustion engulfs you in flames for 10 seconds, increasing your critical strike chance by 100% and granting you mastery equal to your critical strike stat, unaffected by the global cooldown and castable while casting. So I'm going to go ahead and start using this here, and then we're going to use Combustion. As you can see, I'm just like exploding in flames now, which is really cool. And it increases all the damage and everything, which is, I love this. So it's different. It's interesting. This new Combustion, it's a 2-minute cooldown, but it is completely different from the old Combustion. No longer compiling your dots and adding extra dots and dealing damage, none of that. I think at some point Blizzard just said this is just This is annoying to deal with. So we're just going to take combustion and go ahead and bring it into a new ability. And so now the only dot damage that you're really going to be dealing with as a fire mage is going to be ignite, and that's it. There were dot damages. There was dot damage from so many different sources, pyroblast, etc. And at some point, enough was enough. And so now your only dot damage source is going to be mastery ignite, unless you have something like living bomb, and then you'll that's a talent still. That'll be something that you can go into. So with that, that's all the changes to a fire mage. Very little, but overall I think the changes are, I welcome the changes that have come to a fire mage, and I think they're going to be, it's going to make it more enjoyable. I will say mages are the one class last expansion specifically is the first time I really like decided, like I've had my mage for a very long time, always at max level, I think since Cataclysm, maybe before that. And I've always sat there and I've been like, I like mage, but not enough to actually do something with him. And last expansion, I tried PvE with him for a little bit, and then I was really turned off by the talent tier that had the one talent tier with Rune of Power and whatnot, and that's when I quit trying to do Mage. But I really did enjoy Fire Mage, and I think I personally will like it even more now with the changes that have come through. I do believe I've shown you all the new major spell visuals. Scorch really has not changed at all. You really can't see much on Scorch, but I'll just go through them here so you can actually see them. Again, Blast Wave we'll get to when we actually get to the talents section. Otherwise, that's pretty much it for the changes in the spell visuals for a Fire Mage in World of Warcraft Legion. They've done a really good job, and I still think by far the best one is Flame Strike. I think it looks amazing, and they've done an amazing job with it. So, with that being said, let's look at the artifact weapon. First, the artifact weapon ability, which is called Phoenix's Flames. Hurls a phoenix that causes 79,000 fire damage to the target and splashes 22,000 fire damage to other nearby enemies. This damage is always a critical strike. 45-second recharge, and you have 3 charges on this. So that's pretty awesome. I'm going to go ahead and use this here, and you'll see there's a crit right there. Then you can use Fire Blast for another crit, and then go through there, use Phoenix Flames, Fire Blast, another crit. If you really want to, pile on some burst damage in PvP, that's how you do it right there, is through Phoenix Flames. So it's pretty cool. It'll be interesting to see how this kind of goes into the Fire Mage rotation. And you can see the orbs decrease as my Phoenix Flames go away. So as they go away, I no longer have access to them. And then after the last one's gone, I have no fire orbs around me. And then they will build back around me as they regenerate. So that's pretty cool. With that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at the artifact weapon for Fire Mage, which its name is Fellow Milorn. And it is a one-handed sword, as we saw earlier. And I believe you have a nice little offhand orb looking on the right-hand side. It's pretty cool. This is one of my favorite mage. The other mage artifact weapons are just like staves, and they're okay. I like the sword better, and I've always liked having, with both holy paladins and with mages, I've always loved having an actual, an actual main hand sword. I always thought it was cool to have that. And when they started to not appear very much, it was kind of a disappointment. So I'm glad to have them back, very much like I'm glad to have one-handed fist weapons back for some classes like Elemental Shaman and Balanced Druid. That's pretty cool as well. So, let's go ahead and go through this talent tree. You'll start here with Phoenix Flames at the beginning, and then you'll work your way out through the entire talent tree, going up around. I will start in the bottom southwest corner and move all the way to the northeast corner. So you have 3 epic portraits. They're all in the middle here, and you'll be starting at Phoenix Flames. Okay? So, actually, let's go ahead and start from Phoenix Flames here, and then we'll work our way around. First, you have Wings of Flame. So this is the first ability you get. Increases your fire damage dealt by 5%, so very simple. Then you have Great Balls of Fire. Increases the damage dealt by Fireball by 9%. 3 ranks, so that'll be 3% per rank. You have a big mouth, increases the range of your dragon's breath by 3 yards, so it is going to be a cone in front of you. It does not actually say how far the range is on dragon's breath, so I'm pretty sure I couldn't hit it from here. There, I hit it from here. So I'm not quite sure what the range is. Could be 12, 13 yards. I'm not quite sure. I thought it actually displayed it on here, but it does not. So, going into the next ability, we have Ever-Burning Consumption. Increases the damage dealt by Ignite by 12%, 3 ranks, so it'll be 4% per rank. Your first epic portrait is going to be Phoenix Reborn. Targets affected by your Ignite have a chance to erupt in flame, taking 11,000 additional fire damage and reducing the cooldown on Phoenix's flame by 10 seconds. So let's actually see if we can get this to proc. We actually have time in this video because so much, there's so little change to the actual fire mages, and actually it did go off. It says your Phoenix Reborn hit Bulwark Constrict for 29,000 fire damage. So to give you an idea of how that compares to something like Fire Blast hit for 100,000 basically. So it's not much, but it's extra damage. Here we have Scorched Earth. Casting Scorch grants you 5% movement speed, stacking up to 5 times. So this is sort of giving your enhancement back that you had in PvP. As you build it up, you'll be able to, continue to move faster. And let's see, the cooldown on it is 15 seconds, so it's quite long for you to be able to do this. And I will say, from what I've noticed, a Fire Mage, I could not catch a Fire Mage worth anything in PvP, and I was a Havoc Demon Hunter when I was playing it. So that's one of the most mobile melee classes at the moment, and I couldn't keep up with him. Fire Mage was able to get away so easily from me. It was kind of frustrating. So Fire Mages definitely have that mobility with Scorch now in PvP. Next option here is Blue Flame Special. Increases damage dealt by Flame Strike by 15%. So that'll be 5% per rank, 3 ranks. We have Molten Skin. Molten Armor reduces all physical damage you take by an additional 10%. So originally it's 6%. That'll bring it up to 16%. We have Reignition Overdrive. Increases the damage dealt by Inferno Blast by 24%. They have not gone through and fixed this yet because the change, this change to change it from Inferno Blast to Fire Blast, it went live literally yesterday. So I believe Blizzard overlooked this, and this will be changed. It'll be increases damage dealt by Fire Blast by 24%, 3 ranks, 8% per rank. You have Fire at Will, reduces the cast time of Fireball by 9%, so that'll be 3% per rank. This actually I think puts it close to, it doesn't change it too much, because when I was looking at these two spells, I didn't see too much of a difference between Fireball on Live and Fireball on Legion, so I don't think this will change it too much. You have Blast Furnish, which Fire Blast deals an additional 14,000 fire damage over 9 seconds, so this is actually a dot you will have access to. As you can see right there, it's dealing it right now. Your second epic portrait is going to be Pyretic Incantation. Pyretic Incantation. Each consecutive critical strike you deal increases critical strike damage you deal by 5%. So that's pretty cool. I'm just going to go ahead and use this here as an example just so I can get them off. Right now, as you can see in the top right hand corner, I have 5%, 5 stacks of this, and my spell damages are increased by 25%. So it's a pretty powerful ability to have as a Fire Mage, and one of the best epic portraits. I think it's much better than Phoenix Reborn down here. Over here we have, I believe I missed this one, Cauterizing Blink. I hope I pronounced that right. Activating Blink heals you for 15% of your maximum health over 6 seconds. So you have some sustainability right there with Blink. That's going to be 5% per rank. That should be 5% per rank. So 3 ranks, 5% per rank over 6 seconds. You have a Pyroclasmic Paranoia. Increases the damage dealt by Pyroblast by 6%. 3 ranks, that'll be 2% per rank. You have Burning Gaze. Increases fire critical damage you deal by 3%. So that'll be 1% per rank for 3 ranks. And then you have your last epic portrait, which is Aftershocks. Flame Strikes call down Flame Strike calls down an additional 1 pillar of flame each time it is cast. So, as I said, that extra Flame Strike cast that you see at the end of Flame Strike, that is from this ability right here, Aftershocks. With that, that's everything for Fire Mage. There's very little changes to a Fire Mage in World of Warcraft Legion. Some abilities have seen some significant changes, especially Combustion. Hot Streak being changed a little bit, Fire Blast as well. Quality of life changes, but overall, things are going to feel pretty much the same as a Fire Mage in World of Warcraft Legion. Personally, I didn't think there was too much wrong with it. If it's not broke, don't try and fix it. So it was pretty good in the first place. So, with that, that's everything for the first video. In the second video, we will be taking a look at the PvE and PvP talents, and the PvE talents haven't changed too much either. PvP talents will be interesting, but PvE for the most part, a lot of it's you're gonna see a lot of familiar talents, but at the same time, some of them will be quite different from how they function on live. To kind of change some of the stuff that I don't think Blizzard likes very much, and personally I hated with a passion. So I'm glad to see them gone. With that, that's everything for Fire Mage. I hope to see you guys in the next video. Tearless out.